spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. This episode, we finally interact with another team. We had a joint practice with the New York Jets yesterday. We're going to recap that practice, our thoughts on it, and then we've got the preseason game. We finally get to see these guys on TV tomorrow, Saturday at noon. And we get to see Jayden Daniels play some football for your Washington Commanders. So before we begin this episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. Got a nice mailbag today. And KDot?
It's time! Did the microphone pick me up right there? Could you hear
That was perfect. Yeah.
All right. It's time to share this. Share this. Share it, guys.
Share, guys. We would greatly appreciate that. Well done there, KDot. And so why don't we go ahead?
Just share the fucking shit, all right? It doesn't cost you anything. Just share the motherfucker, all right? We didn't ask for money. We want to get to money. Just share it.
Please share it. We would greatly appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump into the episode. So there was a lot of excitement around the joint practice. So we are working, of course, just internally. We've got our offense against our defense. Firsts against first, seconds against seconds, etc. And we've got Joe Witt Jr. delivering awesome press conferences. We got Dan Quinn delivering awesome press conferences. All sorts of excitement. And then we played the New York Jets. And it was a mixed bag. KDot, what were your impressions of it? What did you take away from it?
The sky's falling, guys. It's all over. It's fucking done. Emmanuel Forbes got beat. He looked so bad. Jayden Daniels was less than 50%. God, it's bad. Oh, the O-line was getting beat constantly. Oh, God. I'm melting. He's melting. I love this shit. I love it. This is what I was waiting for. I fucking hate hype season. Stop that shit down. Make it more realistic for us, right? This shit is wonderful. The only way you get to success is through fucking failure. It's the first one. It's the first time the team has seen another team to do anything. Then if you start looking at the nitty and gritty, the O-line didn't even have the full fucking starters playing. Calm the fuck down, everybody. This is so early. Plus, it was raining. You got Jayden Daniels seeing another NFL defense for the first fucking time. You got Emmanuel Forbes. Didn't look great. But, I mean, shit, that's why our faith ship's pretty low in the secondary. Whatever. But beyond all that shit, this is so early on. All that I'm seeing is the people that have been so ho-hum, the sky is still falling, nothing is ever going to change with Washington. They had their opportunity of a day of being like, see, I fucking told you. I told you guys. I told you. And that's what we're hearing. We're hearing that hype of that. Everybody has been listening to the hype of the team over the course of last month. And now they wanted one opportunity, a little hole in there to try to stomp a mud hole in it. And it's bullshit. We are so early onto this thing. I love hearing that they're having some struggles because it means they'll learn from them. Even talking about like the Ravens last year. Everybody saw about like the joint project with the Ravens. Like, man, they look terrible. I like where they ended up. Like, that's where you want, man. Like, this early on, everybody's here learning. As long as they're learning. You got so many new players here. You got so many rookies here. You got a new coaching staff. You got a new front office. This is the time to learn.
Yeah, I think perfectly said. And I just want to echo everything you said completely. It is practice. This is where you rotate. This is where you try and get better. And you went against, honestly, a supremely talented team in the New York Jets, right? They talked about being a quarterback away. They had the worst quarterback play last season, but they had a top 5 defense. They have Garrett Wilson. They have Breece Hall. You know, they've got guys. And then they picked up Tyrod Taylor, who was a quarterback I wanted to pick up as our backup, who's serviceable and plays pretty well. And so when we find out Aaron Rodgers isn't practicing, I was like, hey, our secondary was still ass last season. Let's stop Tyrod. That is still very much a tall order from where we were last season.
Right.
On the subject of Emmanuel Forbes, real quick, I think a lot of people, we got this microscope on the kid. It's his second year. He had a rough year last season. We know he shot of confidence. I like that he got chippy with Breece Hall. I like that he had a couple pass breakups and had a pick. Yes, he got burned a few times. That's part of the process, people. It is his second season, and he is primarily a ball hawk. So he got a pick yesterday. How does he respond to getting burned a few times? How does Joe Witt Jr., Jason Simmons, etc., how do they coach him up? This is what the joint practice is about. I don't mind a struggle in a joint practice. I don't mind a struggle in preseason. August is gearing up for September. We've said this for ages, so I'm cool with it. On the subject of Jayden Daniels, because you get those aggregator accounts and everyone and their mother seems to see these things, that he is seeing ghosts, that he was terrible yesterday. First off, he was not terrible yesterday. To KDot's point, we had two of our starters on the offensive line playing. That was during 11s. That was Tyler Biadasz and that was Nick Allegretti. Brandon Coleman did not practice. Sam Cosmi, our best lineman, did not practice. Andrew Wiley did not practice. We threw in Mason Brooks at time. We took, Chris Paul at times. Like, we had all sorts of people on the offensive line against a dominant Jets defensive line, against a Jets defense that returned all sorts of people, and like most of their starters, honestly. And then if you look at quarterbacks last season against the Jets, just to put this in perspective, guys, because again, this Jets defense has chemistry. Quarterbacks that had below a passer rating of 70 against these guys include Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts. These guys are good. They have chemistry. And Jayden in 7s more than held his own. And in 11s had a couple nice plays too. So like, it was a practice. It was a practice. I think he did about as well as I thought he was going to do, honestly, Kate. What did you make of Jayden's performance specifically from what you heard?
From everything I heard, it was like, yeah, he's right on fucking schedule. This didn't feel as though it was any sort of bad mark on him at all. Like, it seemed as though he was receptive to everything. I even hear Sauce Gardner was talking shit and Jayden's just kind of smiling him off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to hear. Listen to John Kine talk about there were moments where he was rolling in the pocket and stuff like that. And there was sometimes where just because of what it was happening with the offensive line and them not having the guys that are projected to be the starters out there, at least not across the entire line, they did have some issues with some pressure, but it did look like Jayden was looking at the scanning the field properly and he saw what was up. He just ran out of time sometimes. So there is an element of like first joint practice, first time Jayden Daniels is seeing an opposing team. And I love it. I there was nothing I heard that made me terrified about Jayden at all. Everything that I'm hearing about Jayden completely and totally makes me think he is on schedule, if not maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. That's it. Like, there's nothing from this joint practice so far that I've heard has told me or shown me otherwise.
Was there anything that, and I'm in complete agreement there on Jayden. I think he's honestly ahead of schedule. He's ahead of where I thought he was going to be. I was listening to Dan Quinn speak to Rich Eisen on his show, and they were saying, well, why is this even a competition, right? If you're so high on Jayden, stuff like that. Dan said that we don't want to miss a step in the process. So once he said that, it was like, okay, cool. We're doing the due diligence even with him here. And it does look like he is ahead of schedule if that's what's being said, because it sounds like that was almost an informal, like, yeah, he's going to end up starting. Like, that's basically what that ended up saying. Was there anything from the joint practice that you did not like, KDot?
Then the spin around it and after maybe is like the rampant negativity that I was hearing across some lines or some circles. I guess that's the only thing that I really didn't appreciate or like. I love that we did the faith chips exercise earlier this offseason in the sense of us knowing and acknowledging where it is we thought there were certain positions that, like, hey, there's a question mark about. Nobody's looking at this team and thinking that they're going to be a fucking Super Bowl contender. At least if you do, God, give me a sip of whatever the fuck it is you're sipping, right? Honestly. Like, they're, and as I even said last week when we had Nathan from Ref the District on, is that, like, what the level of benchmark for success this season for me is, in the sense of I just want to see them. We'll get to more of that when we talk about the preseason stuff, but it's like, I just want to know that these guys are learning properly. I never liked hearing nothing but glowing reviews the entire time through joint practices or whatever. I never trust that shit. I will never forget talking about preseason or before the season at all. But August 4th, 2002, when we played the 49ers in Osaka and we beat their asses, like 38-7. That was a Steve Spurrier. Do we want to relive that shit? Who gave a fuck, right? Like, who cares? Like, I just want to know. It's the first time these guys are, it's the first time any of these guys are seeing NFL talent on an opposing team at all. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. And then there's, it's just, and then you hear like a lot of glowing reviews about some of the dudes. I heard tons of great things about Frankie Louvu, dude that we're watching, looks good, this, that, and the other. I'm hearing glowing reviews about Mike Sanders still. Love hearing that stuff. I actually heard a lot about our pass rushers. They looked better than they did in certain aspects of training.
That's nice.
It was a nice thing. So, like, but you take all of it with a grain of salt, right? I look at this coaching staff and say that I believe in them. And I think that's the thing that's going to be on most people's, should be on most people's minds, is whether or not you believe in this coaching staff. You guys know I was high on a lot of these guys before they even got here. So this to me feels like I would love to be a fly on the wall in the room after that joint practice to see how it is they talk about things, how it is that they're going to look at some of the tape, how it is they're going to approach what it is we need to do to learn from our mistakes. That is, if we're talking about the mantra as far as like playing hard or being a commander, second to that, from Dan Quinn's mouth, is learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
That is the recipe, baby.
If every good team knows how to do it, is when things don't go your way, how do you get better from it? And that has not historically been what we have been in the last few years, as everyone knows. Right. You can tell, again, from the reaction of the fan base. Sign Stephon Gilmore. Sign David Bakhtiari. We're talking about signings after a practice. Like, guys, calm down. That's only for I know there are a lot of level-headed fans as well, but there was a lot of reaction yesterday that, to your point, KDot, that was the one thing I did not like from joint practice, was almost feeling the need to go on Twitter and be like, guys, can we please relax? Like, it was a practice.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that is the point. Like, if bad things happen, let it be here. I'll have a bigger problem in September. And even then it won't be as big a deal because this is a brand new staff, culture, etc.
Yep.
So just, guys, pump the brakes in case you were like, holy shit, the sky is falling. Because to me, we're right on schedule. We are right on schedule.
We need these moments. It happens in the season. Hype season happens all the time. It's all things on paper. Now they get to plan and you get more realistic expectations. I love this shit. I especially love this shit because you've been seeing sort of the hype around it. You remember me talking about we might be that sexy pick? Mm-hmm. I like that now, after that, you hear some of the, all right, let us be that underdog that nobody's talking about. That's what I want.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly well said. I just want to shout out a couple players as well. Brycen Tremayne, who made a couple nice plays yesterday. He's also, if you remember, when training camp started, he's been one of the first guys on the field, if not the first guy on the field. So between making plays in practice, that still counts, just to be clear, making plays in practice. Let's see how he does this in this preseason game. He looks like he is solidifying that spot on the 53 potentially. Like, I know that we have a number of question marks at wide receiver, but why not? Why not a Brycen Tremayne? And then shout out Dyami Brown, who it looks like Jayden's got a connection with him.
Yeah.
Some people are saying, hey, Dyami is wide receiver 3. And that I don't even think is necessarily a knock on any other player. I think he's just doing really well. So just shout out those two receivers in a new cycle filled with wide receivers right now. I won't even say the name, but yeah.
And that's the thing with Dyami. It's the same thing. Kime actually made this point. I loved it. Was that like speed kills? And it's one of those things that as a coach staff, you never want to give up on. We've been waiting to see this from Dyami. And the biggest problem was that I've been critical of a lot of the wide receivers outside of the top 2 or 3, maybe. But the other thing I got to remember with Dyami is like, who the fuck was throwing him the football? And that it could be a problem.
Can I just quickly jump in? So Sam Howell, who we had last season, liked him early on, but against this Jets defense, a rating of 1.7. Please continue.
Yeah. I'd also just shout out a guy that we liked, Armani Rogers.
Yeah.
But I think that here's the thing, and I've heard criticism about this of our fan base when it comes to this. is it when you have a guy like Armani Rogers get cut and you see all the Twitter, like people being basically depressed that it happened. And everybody's like, that is so Commanders. Like,
it speaks to our level. Right. Yeah.
Look, the only pushback I want to give is that, like, hey, look, man, we haven't had a whole lot of success for a very long time here, but there's nothing I'm going to take away from these guys actually trying their asses off.
Of
and
course.
Especially dudes that have gotten hurt, this, that, and the other. Like, get a man his props. Like, Armani did well when he was able to get on the field. Unlucky for him and unlucky for us. He wasn't able to sustain it. I wish him the absolute best. He seemed like a really good dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think he was a fan favorite, honestly. A lot of people were excited to see what he would do.
He was
this
explosive.
offseason. Yeah. And I think, between Zach Ertz, who's been doing very, very well, by the way, might be a nice little fantasy streaming tight end for those that play. And then we draft the Senator, Ben Sinnott, and John Bates. Cole Turner's still there. So, like, it was a pretty loaded position in terms of bodies that we've recently put into that fray. And so, yeah, I mean, someone was going to get cut. We happen to like the guy and hope he does well. Now he's in Philly. And a lot of people reacted to that as well. Like, look out. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, the 53-man roster is going to be, when we do our 53-man roster projection episode, that's going to be mother.
That is going to be awesome. And Ref the District has even reached out and said, hey, can you send us your 53-man projected roster? So we will be doing that as well. Shout out again to Nathan from Ref the District for joining us last week. Any final thoughts before we move on to the preseason preview?
Nah, I'm good.
Let's go ahead and do it then. So again, this game is happening tomorrow, noon Eastern. I believe if you're local, you can see it on WUSA 9. If you are not, and you have like NFL Plus or whatever, I think you can see it immediately. Otherwise, NFL Network Sunday morning, I want to say, if I remember correctly. So for those that maybe aren't in the area, that's when you can see it. KDot, for this, of course, there's a lot of excitement around Jayden Daniels and like being able to show out, hopefully. But we saw Drake May play one series for the Carolina Panthers yesterday. What is your expectation for Jayden Daniels? How many series are you looking at? Is it dependent on how the first one goes? Go ahead.
I want to see him healthy and upright. So that to me is basically on a benchmark. I have no real expectations for preseason. I don't like setting them. Like the only things that I'm looking for in each preseason game is, but I break it down into two categories: body language and moments. Body language means, is your head held high? Are you playing with intensity? Are you getting to on defense? Are you getting to the fucking football? If you're Jayden, what are you looking like? Do you have happy feet? Do you look settled? Do you look confident? Are you gaining confidence as the game goes on? Or are you losing it? That's all I'm looking for. I just basically I need to sit down with a fucking body language expert to watch the game because it's the only fucking thing I give a shit about. Okay. Just being honest. Once again, Osaka. So like the outcomes, I don't give a fuck. I want to see them be able to put in certain positions and just what's going to happen from that. If Jayden Daniels, like in a perfect world, 2 or 3 series tops, if they said 1 and he's done, like, man, we saw what we need to see. I just wanted the coach. I want to know that the coaching staff sees enough that they're like, hey, progression made. We're good to go. We got our answers for this one. On to the next lesson, buddy.
Yeah. What I want to see, and I think we've echoed this every preseason, and I'm actually very intrigued about this preseason game. I don't know that expectations is the correct word, but what I'm curious to see, one, can we keep penalties low? I'm talking false starts, jumping off sides. So those are both lines right there. Like, can we maintain discipline there? That's one I'm curious about. 2, how do the 2s and 3s look? I'm very excited for it. We brought in a lot of people this offseason, right? Most turnover in the roster. We say it over and over since World War II, right? So like, how quickly do these guys look like they've meshed already? Do they keep their heads held up after a bad play? It's almost a sort of look into the culture, right? A look into, hey, how is it from 1 to 90, right? Player 1 to player 90. Are they all, you're as strong as your weakest link? Are they all bought in? Are they all pushing? Are they all supporting each other? Like, that's sort of the stuff I'm looking for. I don't care about the score. I care about what it looks like in the third quarter when someone is fighting for their job in a position battle, for example. Like, that's the stuff I'm very curious to see, including backups that know they're not going to start no matter what they do. How do they look? Are they checked out? Or are they like, oh yeah, no, I'm pushing because that is my job. So that's the stuff I'm most excited for, KDot. If Jayden plays one series, that's fine. I'd like to see him throw the ball one time. That'd be sweet. But other than that, like if he hands it off 3 times, I'm not going to cry fucking river. Like whatever. Let him get out. We need him week 1. Like
right.
That's where I'm at with Jayden. That's where I'm at with that. Any other thoughts? I know it's sort of a quick preview, but I think that
I got more.
Go ahead.
So I tried to keep it to Jayden mostly on my first volley as far as the preseason preview.
Yeah.
But I mean, so when I talked about the 2 ways in which I break it down, which is the body language, and I said moments. The reason I say moments is we have a lot of players that I consider like Swiss Army knives. There's a lot of versatility, right? And you see what they're doing even in the joint practice. They're lining up people all over the fucking field, right? I just want to see, are there moments, game-breaking moments, playmaker moments from guys in certain spots that maybe scream to, oh shit, we might have a weapon here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's the thing, is like looking back at this team over the course of the last how many years, how many dudes can you actually say was like an honest playmaker for us? Terry? Who else?
Terry over the years, like Santana, of course.
So that's the thing.
Like, but it's been a while.
That's the thing. The mental exercise. If you're saying Santana Moss, which he hasn't played here in 10 years, like that problem.
Pierre's like the bridge. Yeah.
Sorta, right? I looked at Pierre more as like Pierre could game break, but I was like, he was more what I loved about Pierre was his consistency. He just seemed like he was rock solid. But like, I'm gonna take the top off this bitch. Or like on defense, look out for it's Chase Young rookie season. Look out for a fumble. Look out for this sack in this opportune time, right? I want to see that. I want to see what the rotations of the guys look like, and are anybody like standing out as far as playmakers go. Because that's what I love. Because that's the one thing you look at those Cowboys teams, like Dan Quinn on defense, they had themselves some game breakers on that team. And these dudes that came out of nowhere to become it, right? Even when you look at like the Carolina Panthers, you see Jeremy Chin and you see Frankie Louvu. There were moments I wouldn't necessarily classify them as game breakers, but you saw something and was like, maybe if they got more opportunities, maybe they played for a better team.
That's true.
And the other thing is that, like, when it comes to the secondary in particular, I'm reminded when I was at middle school, I took 2 years of French. I don't know. I was in the advanced class. They gave us French. Spanish would have been so much more helpful, but I can speak a little French. When I went to high school in 9th grade, because I had already taken 2 years of French, I was like, fuck it, let me continue my French lessons, right? And I remember my teacher was so goddamn bad that I lost so much of the language in 9th grade. It was fucking bad. Like, we were actively in the class as like classmates looking like, dude, do you feel like you learn less? Like, do you know less of the language now? We were like, yeah. And then 10th grade came around, took French again. And it was a bit of a struggle early on because it was like, she's like, hey, you guys should be here. You're clearly not here. We got to get it. I look at that and I tell you that because our secondary faced a very similar circumstance. Okay. These motherfuckers regressed last season. And I'm sorry, if it was Emmanuel Forbes' first year speaking French, I'm sorry, buddy. You're in a deficit now. So, like, I want to always put that in perspective. It is not Emmanuel Forbes' fault that he got drafted where he got drafted. Trust me. I look at this coaching staff, and I said it earlier this offseason. If I'm looking just as a player, not what is playmaking ability or anything else, I can look at this coaching staff and say, Porter was probably a better fit. Gonzalez is probably a better fit just because they're more physical. That's it. It's not a knock on Forbes and not being able to be a fucking playmaker. It's just me saying, hey, I'm looking at this coach staff. I'm looking at what they do defensively. There are better fits, right? But I think with Forbes and his playmaking ability, if the rest of the defense can gel in a certain way to kind of offset some of the stuff and allow him to be a playmaker, allow him to get that confidence level up, I just think everybody needs to. This whole secondary took a huge deficit last year with the way that they were being taught. Huge deficit. I don't think it gets talked about enough. They regressed. And we have to know that they got to unlearn a lot of that shit. And the only way in the secondary to actually learn shit is to get beat some fucking times, man. It's going to happen. Get used to it. But it's all in the right direction. And it's even in the right direction if it's not these guys to do it. I'm looking long-term. What it allows me to do if they see failures in some of the dudes, right, is for a front office to be able to evaluate players correctly, for the coaching staff to be able to evaluate players correctly, to get the right guys in, if that's what it takes. But every day that goes by is progress. Progress. It's going to take time.
Yeah, I fully believe in this coaching staff. And one other thing that came up for me, KDot, while you were speaking, you had mentioned Chase Young's rookie year being that impactful. Like, look out for him. Well, this is also the first time we've had like a proper general manager in quite some time. I would love to see rookies making plays left, right, and center.
Right.
Like almost as proof of, hey, these guys belong and you can trust future drafts. I already do, just to be clear. But I think for all fans to see, like, Dominique Hampton, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Jordan McGee on the defensive side, like make some plays, I think would be awesome. Even the undrafted guys like Tyler Owens, Ben Nickel, Chigozie on the CM, like those guys, like that would be cool to be able to see them, especially on defense. I'm highlighting those guys in particular, make plays for us to be able to go, okay, cool. I trust the coaching staff and general manager are in alignment, and I trust that they are able to coach them to have them make plays when the lights are on, which I think would be fabulous news for our defense if the rookies can make plays, because that means, hey, we can identify talent here and we can make it fit in the scheme. So I just wanted to add that part as well, KDot.
I would. It would be amazing to see.
Yes.
What I will also say is that this season should be the ultimate test of patience and not overreacting to anything,
which we have failed so far.
Well, right? No, it's hype season, baby. That's
end
what
of the
it
bell
is.
Curve. That end of the bell curve failed it miserably with this joint practice yesterday.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I got you.
Blow it up. Adam Peters doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I can't believe that still exists. Or I can, but yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like, look, man, there's a lot of things I can look at on paper. There's a lot of things that I can think about logically. This makes sense to me. When I talk about the offensive line, our faith chips for the offensive line were low because we can look at them and say this. There is reasons to look at last season and say that there are things that we think that they should be able to do better just because of play calling, just because maybe the quarterback change. Get that, right? But you have to still take all this stuff very, very slowly. Even with the rookies that are coming in, I look at the rookies and I have to put it in context, right? The rookies are here. It's not like the rookies make up the entire team. And the rookies are still playing with some guys that played for a team that got them the second fucking overall pick last year. So it all fits in a certain way, right? There is also an element of you had a new coaching staff, a new front office trying to get guys to kind of gel together on paper. We have no idea what it looks like until they fucking hit the field. So it's just one of those things where it's like, once again, I go back to look for certain things that make you know that the organization as a whole is headed in the right direction. And what that means is, are they drafting the right guys as far as attitude? Yep. Are they drafting the right guys as far as effort? Are they drafting the right guys as far as mental capacity? Are they not making the mistakes like you talked about as far as the penalties and all that shit? Like, that's what we want to do. This is a slow burn. We are undoing 20-something years of abject futility. This shit don't change overnight. It won't. It can't. If it does, I'll be the first one to say, God damn, anoint these dudes as Christ-like figures. Okay? That's where we're at. That would be insane. It would be insane. Because I even look at the Texans and see what it is that they had to put up with and deal with. I'm like, God damn, that's a great job, right? But Texas haven't been ran particularly well, Bill O'Brien, all that shit. But they don't have 20 years of people saying, I ain't fucking playing for those assholes. You don't get the Devontae Adams in the fucking media talking shit, and he ain't been in this bitch in 6 years. Like, they don't have that. We got to undo all that shit.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I also wanted to point out, you had just mentioned the Texans, that CJ Stroud also got off to a slow start. So it does, and that was in preseason. Just a reminder, people, preseason does not necessarily indicate what happens in the season. The Osaka point that he made earlier about the 49ers, it doesn't necessarily indicate. We're much more interested in the culture side of things, the longer term view here. That is the most important thing. Okay. And then we can compete regularly like KDot has preached for so long. That would be awesome. And it takes patience to get there.
Bongo!
All right, let's go ahead and get to the comment mailbag.
Beforehand, though, just got to do this. This was all about preseason, which we don't really give a shit about. 30 days!
Man, we're officially just 1 month away. That's cool.
Hot damn!
It's been a summer. Oh my goodness. Like a lot has happened with the team too to make it entertaining this offseason, but also it has been a long wait. I cannot wait for week 1, KDot. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fucking epic. All right. Nick Day!
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
And in this comment mailbag, we have a whole bunch from Allison Newg Lombard. So we'll begin with those. I'll read them in a
batch.
to
be proper with a straw because I thought like me just slugging cans over here. This is so awkward.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. And I
wasn't going to say anything.
But I want to take it out, but I want like the energy drink dripping all over the fucking place. So I feel like I'm committed to the straw now.
Oh, yeah, you can't take it out. No, you're committed. You are absolutely.
The rest of the drink.
Let's go ahead and go to Newg Lombard over here. Beginning with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're batching 7.
Okay. Damn, Allison.
But they're all like one-liners. They're like modern day texting. Boom, boom, boom. But that's it.
Are you a multi-texter? You are.
Not really though.
You're not a long text guy.
I'm not doing one single long text. No, I'll probably break that up into 2 or 3, but like it could be multiple sentences.
I'm a paragrapher.
No, I know. I actually appreciate that. I enjoy reading a single long text, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that works for me. When I get 18 messages.
I hate that shit.
So we go over to Allison, Newg Lombard. Beginning with the first one, Olamide Zacchaeus is good from an Eagles fan perspective. That's 1. The second one, loved Nathan's wide receiver scouting report. Once again, shout out Nathan from Ref the District. That's 2. And then I said on Nathan's show, Ref the District, please like and subscribe there as well, that Washington's wide receiver depth is mid at best. ... It's ass. Okay, so we've got 3 comments over there. Let's take a short break now and KDot, your reaction to those 3. A lot of wide receiver talk there.
Well, just because of you shouting out Zacchaeus from an Eagle standpoint makes me want to downgrade him, even though I should be rooting for him. Just being honest. Look, so Nathan did do a hell of a job last week breaking down the wide receivers. He broke them down as a response to me saying that I haven't really trusted some of the wide receiver group for a few years. And I was listening back to it and I was like, I sounded really fucking stupid. So like because what it is that I was trying to convey was that outside of the top 2 or 3 receivers at any given point in time, I'd be disappointed that more guys haven't like stepped out. Your Dyami Brown hasn't like stepped out. Your Cam Sims hasn't been like a dude you can count on, right? But then also, and I kind of caught myself on the pod saying this is like, well, there's a reason the receivers 4 through 7. They're clearly not as good as the other 3. So calm it down. And then Nathan he gave a wonderful response. I got to give him credit for it. But I don't think if you look at me, if you go back and watch that tape as Nathan's speaking, I'm trying to interrupt him like 10 times because I don't think I ever felt dumber. I didn't feel like I got the point across, and I still didn't feel like even my point made any fucking sense. But I'm like, I just want to, hey, yeah, stop.
I'm sorry. You're right. Stop. He's already dead. Yeah.
If you want a little behind the scenes on what was going on in my brain, just go back and look at that because that's exactly what's happening.
I can't wait to rewatch that now knowing what was going on in your brain over there. And we got a few more from Allison over here. I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I hate the Yankees. I hate the Yankees, the Lakers, and the Cowboys.
Ooh. We're 2 out of 3. I agree, 2 out of 3. I fucking hate the Lakers, and I fucking hate the Cowboys. I was a Yankees fan growing up. Diehard Yankees fan. Washington didn't have a fucking team, and I wasn't going to root for the Orioles because of Peter Angelos. But now he's dead, so I'm an Orioles fan. Yeah, man, the Yankees were they came to town all the time, and they used to beat the shit out of the Orioles, and it was Camden Yards is a great place to fucking go. And I can even go up and looking back.
I still haven't been to Camden Yards. I need to go.
That is ridiculous.
I know, it's right there.
It's like
I might go before the end of the season. There's still plenty of time.
Did you see the rankings of like every major sports stadium in the United States?
I did not.
They had a ranking of it. FedEx Field was dead last.
That makes sense.
Dead last.
I didn't need to see it to know that one. Yeah.
Camden Yards was second.
Camden was second? All right, I'm gonna go to
Camden Yards is
let's
the
go to a
shit,
game,
man.
K-Dot. Let's go to a game.
The cheapest shit, and the food's amazing. I just can't eat crab. God damn. Living in Baltimore, the shellfish allergy is a bitch.
Oh shit.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, I'll eat it, and I'll get you something else.
You know what really sucks is that it wasn't like I was born with the shellfish allergy. I developed it in my 20s, so like I know what I'm missing.
Oh no, so that's brutal. Maybe that's
like it's nothing like you've never had it, but like
developing something at 20 when you know how good it is.
But you go everywhere in Baltimore, like there's a pizza shop, and it's like, hey, try our crab cake pizza. I'm like, fucking shit, man.
Oh fuck. Okay, cool. Anyway, beginning to salivate over here. We got 3 more from Allison. When I referred to Davis and Luvu as situational edge rushers, I was referring to this. I don't know what this is, but it was something in the episode, I'm sure. That's one.
We talked about pass rushers being
underperforming.
I remember we did have a conversation briefly about some of the pass rushers, at least in practice, looking like they were underperforming a bit. I know they have Davis lining up everywhere. They got Luvu lining up everywhere. Yeah, I don't know what she's referring
to. Charles Leno had no anchor and was always in the QB's lap. Can he get off? Tibbs got most of his sacks versus Leno. Tibbs being Kayvon Thibodeau over with the New York Giants. And then one last one, and then react to it. Drew Petzing, Arizona's offensive coordinator, was likely more responsible for their run game than Cliff was. I have a reaction to that one. But KDot, those were the comments. What do you make of them?
I heard some. Who are we beating off?
No, I don't know. I think Charles Leno's beating off the quarterback is what my interpretation was.
Inappropriate. And then on that, what was it? The tail end thing was
Drew Petzing, the Arizona.
Yeah. Anthony Lynn.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think we are getting more and more of a view into the balance that we are going to have as an offense. Said it a couple weeks ago, feel even stronger about it now. I think it helps a young quarterback out first and foremost. And I think we have a line that is going to be good enough running the ball. And I think it's just going to help a whole lot. So I'm not concerned about any sort of lack of running the ball. Yeah, let's go over to Vindo. Another OG shout out, Vindo. Definitely looking forward to what our team could do next weekend against the Jets. And again, it's an exciting time. This is going to be the first preseason game with Dan Quinn as head coach, with Jayden Daniels at quarterback, with the offensive defensive coordinator. Everything's new. So it is exciting. I honestly can't wait to watch it as well. Definitely from the culture perspective, but I'm not going to lie. If we start making some plays, it's going to be awesome, KDot.
I'm excited too, but it actually brings into a conversation that me and you are going to probably have off camera, which is, so I'm doing this whole bit right now where a good friend of mine, somebody who's been in the comment mailbag every once in a while, but I'm going to add him. His wife is in France watching the Olympics. So I am helping him watch the baby. So I wanted to say it was like a 2 men and a baby situation, but it just looked like we're a gay couple, whatever. But he's begging me tomorrow, if we cannot watch the preseason game at noon, but wait until the baby goes to sleep and then order wings and watch the game on a delay. So which might hurt if we got to do a podcast or something after.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm also going to be watching it on delay because I'm going to a barbecue that begins at 11. And there's the U.S. women's national team gold medal game. This is like a soccer barbecue. So that's going to be on. At noon, I will be thinking our game's kicking off. That's how I'm wired. I'm going to be like, hey, can I go somewhere else and watch preseason?
So maybe it works out. Maybe it works out.
So like, maybe I'll send you a text being like, okay, I'm done. That's it. Like I've seen it. Almost like it's a TV show. Like, okay, are you up to date? Maybe we do it that way.
Yeah, maybe. We'll talk. I do after the pod. I need to know more about this barbecue.
Sure. Sounds good. We will dive into the barbecue. We go over to the Nathan Perry. Shout out, Nathan Perry. Thanks, gents, for having me on. Next mailbag. KDot and I mentioned Daniels' pressure to sack ratio. What does success look like on that front? If Jayden Daniels is successful, he'd be the first QB to be so after not having a single college season with a sub 20% ratio in a single college season. Brings up a good point. That is typically a good indicator. We have a couple things that are fighting with each other, though. So the pressure to sack ratio is generally a good indicator of what continues. Also, playing more years in college also tends to translate to the NFL. And he won a Heisman and was healthy all through also. So there is a pressure to sack ratio, which would suggest injury, which would suggest this team sucks, etc. And then on the other hand, you got a Heisman Trophy winner that didn't get hurt. I am curious to see what happens there. I am, of course, optimistic. I believe it's going to get cleaned up because the run game, I think, is going to help a whole lot. That wasn't necessarily there, with his other teams. KDot, what do you think, though?
It is, and it's still my biggest concern about Jayden. It's the thing that I kind of pointed to when we were looking at and ranking the quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, what did success look to me? Winning games. I don't know.
Specifically in that regard, yeah.
Jayden helping us win games. I guess would be. I don't know. There are things that I can point to as I have the entire offseason where there are certain reasons why I feel like the offensive line might be better, or this might not be as big a concern, even with looking at what we just experienced with the Sam Howell thing, right? There are reasons you could that. There's also Jayden himself being someone, whether it be through the VR or everything we've seen through training camp or even the joint practices, has been someone who seems as though, if we're talking about one of those mantras being learning from your mistakes, he seems to be a guy that does that tremendously well. So I guess there are things that I can point to and tell me that I have faith in this. But I would be absolutely lying to you if I didn't tell you that it's something that I'm absolutely circling in a sense of concern.
I think it's totally fair for it to be on the minds of fans and those that are aware of that statistic. Yeah, of course. I mean, there is reason to be worried about it. I get it. I think that he is good enough and professional enough already that he is going to be able to be better at it. But time will tell. Truthfully, time will tell. I am hopeful that the balance on offense does help him help himself out as well.
Right.
We go over to Yam Starch. Shout out Yam Starch. Good show, guys. I have followed y'all on Twitter for a while. No idea why I hadn't checked out the channel. Subbed up now for sure. Picked up a subscriber there. Please share this shit. Yam Starch. Appreciate that. And then we go over to Just Your Average Fly Guy. And a quick shout out to Just Your Average Fly Guy. We have been chatting on Twitter for the last couple days. Really cool dude. And was like, hey, if I have a question, like, where should I put it? I was like, throw it in the comment mailbag and I'll read it immediately. He's like, got it. So Here we go. Thanks for letting me know I can ask mailbag questions. What 3 to 5 players do each of you guys hope really perform well in the joint practice and the preseason game so they improve their stock to make the team? Okay. So it's not like Jayden's making the team, right? So you would exclude him from your answer. Mine are Dyami Brown. It's a make or break year for him. We got Brycen Tremayne. All right. He has one thing you can't coach, his 6'3" height, and we don't have tall wide receivers. Kaz Allen. I don't want Sanders, Forbes, or Eckler risking injury on kick returns. And then if Sanders gets hurt, we are fucked. We have no true nickel corner. Forbes is valuable on defense, and Eckler is needed on offense. So, KDot, your 3 to 5 players and your reaction to Just Your Average Fly Guys there.
I don't have any. I guess Tremayne, just because I'm hearing so many things about how hard he's trying. Dyami Brown, of course, is kind of echo those things as far as everybody saw that catch in the joint practice, and he's had his moments to shine, and he actually looks like if he steps into what he could be, he's like that burner type.
Yeah.
Being completely honest, there's not a whole lot of loyalty I have to anything.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. It's the guys that I'm more concerned about are like rookies that I know are going to make the team no problem. And beyond that, all the vets that I'm like secure about, cool. If it's not somebody I'm secure about, I mean, everybody can go. I mean, shit. Even last week, y'all had to try to calm me the fuck down on even though I wasn't saying this was the case, I was just saying
not, and we had to cut it soon. Also, that needs to be said. Go ahead.
Right, but Jayden Davis, being somebody who I'm like, look, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fucking fit. So once again, I'm just looking for dudes that are gonna embody the spirit of what it is that we're saying the Commanders are. That's it.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. I think for me, I guess the question is sort of worded is like, do you have certain favorites that you would like to see on the team? Personally, I'm agnostic about who makes the 53. I just want them to be good, and I want us to be able to have a culture that fits. Based on some of the rookie previews that we did, I think it would be really cool if a Bo Bauer made the team. His story is super cool, like learning to long snap as well, trying to create as much versatility. So I'll shout him out. But other than that, I think having a wide receiver 3 solidified emerge would be very cool. I'd love to see Ben Sinnott make some plays. These aren't people I'm concerned about not making the team. They'll make the team, but it would be sweet because the Senator has to be a thing.
There's only one dude that's like, I want to see him make the team for my own selfish, personal benefit. And I'm sure everyone that is secure, everyone that's watching, I'm majority male, if you're secure enough in your masculinity, I think you'll. He's a beautiful man.
I think that was the perfect way to answer that question. The moment you said secure, I was like, here it comes.
Did you see how many pictures he was taking?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my guy.
And I still think, I know I'm objectifying the man, but I think he holds value in like, oh no, things aren't going well. Here's Sam Hartman. Look at him. and then we just clean stuff up.
I like it. I'm digging it.
We go to just your, hey, whatever it takes to win. Winning in the edges. Just your average fly guy one more time. You posed a question on X about what we want to see from the joint practice today. That's super easy. Here's my ABCs. I want to see, 1, how our O-line does against the defensive line. 2, how does Jayden Daniels handle pressure, pocket collapsing, and how fast does the ball come out? 3, can we run the ball? Do our wide receivers and tight ends get open? I will add block as well. 4, can our corners cover their wide receivers? You heard about Garrett Wilson. So like from that perspective, Garrett specifically, seems like the answer is no. Other guys, I don't know. I didn't hear a whole lot, honestly, about the other ones. And then 5, does our new defensive line get pressure? It looked like they did get some pressure, which was pretty cool. So KDot, any of those stand out to you?
I wouldn't say necessarily stand out. Of course, yeah, the 2 position groups that I'm most looking at in the sense of, once again, going back to the faith chips argument, is always going to be the offensive line and the secondary, right? So, like, yeah, I want to make sure that those 2 units, the ones that I was the absolute most concerned about, or at least, if they're not great, which I don't think anybody's thinking they're going to be great, are they going to be serviceable enough? And that's where I'm kind of at. I think the secondary is going to look like shit at certain points, but that's just going to be part of the growing pains. I just want to make sure the offensive line, and once again, we haven't seen our full offensive line healthy playing against somebody yet. I'm not even sure what that's looking like as far as preseason, at least this game. But if there's one thing I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, there's a concern for me, maybe O-line depth. So there is an element of, even if some of these dudes out there, they're not going to be starters, go out there, at least they're learning.
How often does an NFL offensive line come away unscathed during the season?
Almost never.
Almost never were the exact 2 words I had in my head. I think one of the coolest things that could happen this season is figuring out, hey, Bobby Johnson can coach and the depth is getting better. Right. That would be amazing. That is like miracle stuff. Like that would be absolutely incredible to find out this season if that were to be a thing. That would be so cool. Because, yeah, the offensive line is not only a concern. One of the biggest reasons it is a concern, last year's performance, we threw the ball 80 times a game. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it was insane. Yeah. But also, like, what if one of these guys gets hurt? We played 2 of our starters in that joint practice. That is a real possibility to happen come week 8 or 9 that we're playing 2 of our original starters. So how do these guys look in preseason actually is quite important. So aside from culture, how does the offensive line look, the backups? Because if the starters get hurt, how much trouble are we truly in there? So I think that's another excellent point there. Yeah. And that was the comment mailbag. This is District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode where we recap the joint practice and we previewed the preseason game tomorrow. I am Amit, that is KDot, and if you enjoyed today's episode, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot.
It doesn't cost you a dime, maybe a little bit of time. It rhymed. Oh!
Clip that.
Just share that shit, people.
Share the shot. I need the still image of you and me both going. That was incredible. After the pod begins right now. You want to know about the barbecue, right?
Yeah, I get when I hear barbecue, I initially think about all the ways in which most barbecues are lame as fuck.
Okay.
It's gonna sound cliche at this point, but I'm wondering how many raisins are in potato salads for whatever barbecue you're about to attend. But then you said it's a soccer barbecue.
It is like, barbecue.
We're talking about a fiesta. Like, are we?
No, that'd probably be the men's team. Would be more the fiesta for that one. This is a co-ed soccer team that plays on Tuesdays together. It's a bit more casual. Raisins. Yeah, there will be some raisins in this one. But it's a good group of people. It's a mix of a couple folks I know from high school, a few other folks I've met just in the early 20s, and then college friends. So it's a fun hodgepodge of people.
Lots of scrappy people.
There are some. How many different ways are you going to say it? How many different ways are you going to say it?
Lots of people that work. Lots of people
work really hard. Yeah,
you know? They know their X's and O's.
Fundamentals. Yeah, yeah. A lot of.
They got it. And then a bunch of white bitches you yell at the bar.
They will not be there. Not the ones I yell at anyway. But
confirmation.
But it'll be a good time. Shout out to Andrew Belwar. He's the one that's hosting everybody. He's got a nice place. He's got a pool. So, the weather's nice.
Oh, so many raisins.
It'll be a good time. Yeah, lots of raisins, KDot. This is all raisin barbecue over here.
Does your potato salad have enough mayo? I have more mayo.
Not to his credit, he'll throw some spice in there. But
I added salt and pepper. Hope you get that.
What you got?
Too much. If it's too much, you can get a glass of milk out of the fridge.
Nothing
goes better with a raisin potato salad than a glass of milk.
So we're watching the gold medal game, and at noon, I'm gonna be like, I really want to see football. Like, it's been ages. I would love to see it. It's our team. It's new. Just want to see it. I know it's meaningless, but I want to see it.
Change your group setting before you go watch it. I don't want that energy around this team or on the pod.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm not going to turn it on in front of them. They're like, oh, I'm not going to. That was fucked up on their part. My bad.
No, I don't. No, it's just after eating the mayonnaise potato salad, I don't need to hear, hey, guys, turn down the Dave Matthews so I can watch the game.
I think I'm going to have to show this to the squad.
Ants marching is the shit, okay?
Oh, man. Okay, so hold on. So your plan, I think it's a good plan, honestly, if you're willing to, stay off of socials and, just see it without... I think it's cool.
I can go radio silent. I can go... So, that was the plan. I can go absolute radio silence, but I don't... The baby doesn't go down to sleep until, 7. So we wouldn't be firing it up until, 7. Now, what I did learn is that I can do, I ran a test earlier today and last night. I didn't realize that I have this entire interface, what we're using now, works perfectly on my iPad. I can actually move things and do all that kind of shit the same way I do it on the computer on my iPad.
I need to learn how to use StreamYard. I was thinking about this the other day because now that we're, getting bigger and stuff like that, I think it's important that in case you had to miss an episode or something like that, or even just pitching it on that side of things. I think it'd be awesome to learn how to use it. It seems pretty straightforward, but you just make everything look easy in that regard. So
I'm finally in the groove on it. I still screw up from time to time. Even earlier this episode, I didn't go to the overlay for the joint practice unit.
That's because you were focused on something else.
The straw in my drink.
Exactly. and that's important. See, so I saw that it had an update and I was like, something bigger is on his mind right now. Let the man be.
This tiny fucking can. There's still half a drink left in this. I feel embarrassed.
It's what makes us us. That's the thing.
You're better at sucking.
All right. So I think what we're going to do is you and me are both going to go radio silent. I think we send a text to the other. I don't know if we should have a signal. You could easily just be like, all right, I watched it, but that's no fun. I feel like we should have a signal. And
is there a raisin emoji?
That actually sounds great. Is there a raisin emoji? Is there a raisin emoji?
Are you clear of the raisins?
Yeah. Let me have a look at this.
Because we're talking about like order. So he's been trying to get me to eat right. Once again, we are just a gay couple right now.
Correct.
It's great.
I'm very proud of you guys.
It's very cool. It's but we're like, we want to order wingos. We just want to get a bunch of fucking wings and watch the game.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
There's no raisin emoji. Oh, maybe. Oh, wait. Maybe there's a gif of raisins. That would just be fun.
Raisins.
Actually. Oh yeah. Okay. So send a gif of a raisin. You can do that. You can do
that. Clear. The only thing that I don't know if we'll be able to completely prevent, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm just saying we got to be ready for it potentially, just from a podcast perspective. Once again, not trying to put that juju out there. Is if something terrible happens?
No, I know. I thought about that. Knock on wood. Hopefully, not.
If something terrible happens, then I it's the same thing I told my buddy or my life mate that like, hey, if something bad happens, my phone like explodes. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go watch the game. Yeah. Like that.
I'll be doing the same thing. I'll have my phone with me at least so I can jump on. We can do an emergency thing if we need to. I have thought about that. So I will check the phone. I just won't check Twitter or X.
Yeah, I have no notification should come through from me unless it like transcends regular sports news. So like if it's like breaking news that like local news is covering, and that would be potentially something devastating.
Exactly. That would be your tell. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So otherwise, my notifications are off for the other stuff. So like we'd be in the same boat. So that's good to know. Or also if I got a text from you, that would also be something where you just be like, Nope, something happened. We need to talk. And it's like, got it. Cool.
It also works out because like the only problem with like I'll be in DC. I don't even think they're televising it up here in Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken. So like they're like even that is kind of it's hard during the preseason. During the regular season, a lot easier unless of course the Ravens are like playing at the same time, and it's like it could be every once in a while I run on issue. And I still do not want to pay for NFL Sunday ticket. I don't want to pay for Sunday ticket,
man. Yeah,
I don't like the idea of paying for Sunday ticket, and I'm like a stone's throw away from DC. So like even it makes more sense, and it would cost me probably less money to just go find a bar in DC to watch the fucking game, and then come home. Like, but it's so that's what I'm trying to hold out off of. But yeah, preseason is tough sometimes to see everything up here. And while I do have like I'm staring at my giant fucking antenna that I get for network TV, it doesn't pick up the DC stations all that great.
Okay, got it. So, but it's not even on like the basic, like you got like 9 and 5, right? So like the Ravens would be on CBS and Commanders.
Remember, we have our own CBS here.
Okay.
So like I have you guys have Fox 5. I've got Fox 45. You have CBS channel WSA 9. I got WJZ CBS 2. So like I have all the networks here, and a lot. What I think they're doing is trying to block out signals. So I'm not picking up the channels.
I guess I was under the assumption that like the national broadcast would still map to your local, and it just like this is the national broadcast, but
it might be
preseason.
I
that
didn't
might not
look.
be the case.
I didn't look, but it's preseason sometimes can be a little iffy. But
no,
I actually didn't look.
That's fair. Like the Giants-Lions game, for example, it was like clear as day. It was on Fox, like in terms of the graphics and stuff like that, but it wasn't on.
Right.
So to your point, like they easily could have shown that game at the same time, but NFL Network, I think, has the rights to all the games except local. And so that makes it difficult to like, I'm sure I can't see the Ravens game, for example, to your point, at least in preseason. So, okay, we got ourselves a plan, a gif of a raisin. And God forbid, knock on wood, like it is something bad. So hopefully nothing like that. And honestly, knock on wood one more time, like so far been pretty good on that end. The injury side.
Yeah,
so far,
the devastating part. Yeah, no, we know injuries will happen. It's part of football, but nothing devastating. Just hoping and praying that that's the case forever. But I mean, like football's back. Yeah, I'm excited. I just I love this time of year, as I'm saying, because we spent the last doing especially this podcast, right? Like as even a fan, you hit that mode where you're in that paper looking at what the team could be and you're hopeful. But now that we're talking about it and we've talked about it for at length and we're trying to do episodes that are exciting and try to get people in and not be one of those negative Nancy fucking podcasts. you start buying into it a bit much. I loved hearing negative things. Yeah,
we needed it. Yeah. We honestly needed it. The fan base needed it. It's helpful for like if we lose games, which we will in the regular season. It's like, okay, remember, like this is a process. This isn't we're back to the Super Bowl. We still got our sort of, gosh, what would I even call this? Snyder habits, if you will, of like this idea that, oh, this is the year based on what?
Right.
What do you mean? Like it's like we're finally being run like a true organization, and that can take some time. So,
and that'll all go to why. Look, man, I remember last year I tried my best to keep things even keeled.
Yeah,
I'm like being even keeled. Then that Bears game happened. I was like, Jesus Christ, very hard to be even keeled. And then, but this season, my benchmark for success, I'm going to continue to fucking say it. I just want to see them play hard. That's it. I just want to see them play hard throughout the season. Part of me, and this is going to seem so fucking ridiculous because I want us to be in the Super Bowl. Of course I want us to be in the Super Bowl. I want all these games to fucking matter, right? But if we are eliminated from playoff contention, how hard are we still playing? I'm so curious to know what that looks like. Like, I just want to know that we are playing our asses off and that they know this is a long-term change in direction for this team.
Yeah.
If we get eliminated from playoff contention, it's of course being disappointed, being angry that you're eliminated, and then showing out that like, hey, motherfuckers, we're going to be the spoiler of all spoilers for the rest of this goddamn league.
You had mentioned Arizona did that, and we both liked what Arizona did last season from the culture perspective.
Yeah.
You had mentioned Chicago. Did you see Hard Knocks, the first episode?
I have not seen a single episode of Hard Knocks, even the Giants Hard Knocks, and I haven't seen.
Which I still maintain you'd enjoy.
I need to get caught up on all that shit.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a minor spoiler if that's okay.
A lot of shit's been spoiled for me.
Okay, cool. So I thought Hard Knocks did an awesome job of trying to temper expectations on Caleb Williams. Because there was a moment, and a lot of people sort of took it. They're like, oh, maybe he doesn't have a lot of highlights. I think they were quite strategic about what they chose to show. And there was a moment where Nick Saban talks about expectations being a killer. I'm sure you saw that. That was trending on social media. But expectations being the primary killer for quarterbacks that are young.
No doubt.
Right? So another reason why the joint practice was probably good, and you get these aggregator accounts, I don't mind them like shitting on RT. I don't care. That for me is like whatever. That's an aggregator account. They know they're just engagement farming, whatever.
Right.
This was really cool to see, and I don't think people really took this angle, which I was surprised by, where they show Caleb struggling. And literally Liev Schreiber's like, just a reminder, this guy's a rookie. Right. And it almost echoed what Nick said. And I almost wonder if the Bears were like, hey, can you do this? Can you do a little segment where you show that he like does struggle? Because right now, like, for example, on First Things First, Nick Wright has picked the Bears to go to the Super Bowl. Like, other people are going to do this because no number one overall pick has been in a better situation than Caleb Williams. He is a consensus number one overall pick. Like, all this stuff, the expectations are out of this world right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To your point. And so I thought Hard Knocks did a really nice job trying to dial it down and be like, see, he makes mistakes. They showed him throwing a couple picks. Like, they were like, he does this too, by the way. He's not going 32 for 32, 800 yards and 6 touchdowns, which feels like the expectation right now. They're like, he's going to have his ups and downs. I thought that was just pretty cool. I want to point that out.
I'm trying to look it up. Can you yeah, okay. The Bears are the first team to be selected for Hard Knocks with a number one overall quarterback or number one overall pick.
No way. The Cleveland Browns also were.
Hold on. It's
Baker
whatever.
was.
I read the rest of the thing.
Okay.
All right. The Bears are the first team to be selected for Hard Knocks with a number one overall quarterback pick since the Browns were featured.
Right. With Baker.
With Baker, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're being strategic or anything as much as just reminding people the context of what's happening.
Okay.
It's like that to me is like that's just proper context. Like, it's just a matter of like there's no quarterback as a rookie that I've ever heard from that does not have a struggle. Like, I've never heard of that. Like, you can look back at all your favorite Hall of Fame quarterbacks and look at their rookie stats as being shit, or you can read certain, you will always be able to read, especially any big market, be able to pick up any newspaper and see good shit, bad shit. Because you have, not only do you have biases, right? So you have guys that might have wanted them to select one guy, then they select another guy. So they're always looking for ways to put holes in the argument and all kind of shit. There's always going to be this. Even the quarterbacks are the best now. You remember, I come from the philosophy I like to see the quarterback sit the first year. So, like, when you have like a Patrick Mahomes,
we were on the same page. Yeah.
Right. When you have a Patrick Mahomes, there's not a whole lot of fucking stories about his struggles early on in training camp as a rookie because nobody had any expectation he was going to fucking start. You're sitting your pretty happy ass behind fucking Alex Smith, and that's the only guy that we care about at this particular point in time, right? So, like, it's only if they didn't do that, I'd feel bad about Hard Knocks. Look, the only decision I think Hard Knocks has done a damn good job of showing shit behind the scenes and to do it in a fair way. The biggest takeaway I heard from the Giants Hard Knocks, and once again, I haven't watched it, was like, how the fuck or why would they have allowed them to do that, right?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was
Right.
crazy.
So the last thing I want to know is that any of the NFL teams has like editorial control over the way that they're doing it, but I also think Hard Knocks has done a very good job of showing all sides of it and to be able to contextualize it. The only mistake I can look at Hard Knocks doing is last season when Liev Schreiber actually went from narrator to being in an episode. While I love Liev Schreiber, I didn't like seeing him fanboying for Aaron Rodgers. It just felt wrong. But it just didn't feel right.
You know, Aaron was probably like, hey, we will only do this if I got to see him on camera.
Well,
honestly, it was probably a
helicopter. It was this whole bit. Like, I was just like, this is a lot. This is a lot, Liev.
Which speaking of Raj, though, like, that's also been a fun topic. I know I'm bouncing around right now, but like, that's also been a fun topic this offseason is Robert Saleh saying something. And then like an hour later, Aaron being like, that was not told to me.
Look, I remember back when we had all the guys on the pod. I have said a lot of stuff about Aaron Rodgers. I've said a lot of stuff. It's not necessarily what he's able to do on the field as much as it's what he does to a locker room and what he does to the guys around. Those criticisms are still there, man. Like, I've tempered what I've said about him for a multitude of reasons, but there will always be some slight red flags as far as some of that shit goes. And especially even if you watch, like we talked about Hard Knocks last season, they did like the anti what the Commanders have been trying to do with Jayden Daniels. He got anointed savior.
Oh yeah.
Immediately. And I get it from a Jets perspective. You got a future Hall of Fame quarterback.
I think there was no way to avoid that. Right.
It's that you can't bring a guy like that in and just treat him like one of the guys. It just doesn't work that way. Even Tom Brady, as much as they tried to do that in Tampa Bay, Bruce Arians, bye. So there's like, there's some elements to shit. It's just, I give Hard Knocks a lot of, I think that HBO as a whole is my favorite network. Does a really good job, especially when they do anything documentary wise. They're just adding proper context, which is anybody look at Caleb Williams and say, hey, he's still a rookie.
I think it was really nice because, I mean, we're well aware. We did all the quarterback preview stuff. Yeah. And like the amount of pressure the kid puts on himself too is real. You can tell, right? It causes him to be great as well. Right. But also, how will he handle the adversity, stuff like that? So I thought it was nice so that in case, like they start the season with the Titans. That's a game the Bears probably should win. But in case they didn't, he is a rookie, right? Like it is a reminder that like, hey, you know, they could lose some games that you would expect them to win based purely off of the expectations of the kid. So like
that's another messy organization trying to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, they still got Matt Eberflus over there. I mean, there's some questions. You look at their quarterback room, Tyson Bagent, what's his name? Austin Reed, like Brett Rippon. I like ours with Marcus Mariota mirroring Jayden's situation coming out of college, which I thought was really cool. Like it's nice to have a front office and coaching staff that's so well thought out about everything. It's nice. And actually, as I go through because it's fantasy season, now I'm beginning to prep. It's nice to see how we run things relative to other teams I do think that we're ahead of a bunch of organizations, at least from what I'm seeing roster construction wise. And it's a bit unfair because we had all these resources, a brand new situation. So like there is a bit of a boost we get from that. But it's cool to see.
Yeah, fuck unfair. We deserve this shit.
We do deserve this. We could do an entire episode where we go, we deserve this.
We deserve this shit. No, it's just, here's what I see: a franchise that is properly emulating the franchises I've always talked about, the ones that you should be emulating. It's just at this particular point in time, we don't know if it's been successful.
Yeah.
So they're like, so it's just, and they're doing it a real way. It's not like when the Raiders would be like, hey, we're getting Josh McDaniels, we're going to create New England of the West. But the personality types and everything else are just, they don't match. It's not what you're going to do. The Houston Texans try to do it too. Nick Casario. It's not the same thing. Like, you could tell all the differences in the way that they're doing it. I'm seeing us do what it is that you saw like a Baltimore do, what it is you see a Pittsburgh do,
Right.
what you see certain franchises do. It's just, as a matter of fact, you actually have an owner with deeper pockets than any of those franchises. So, like, what do you see to the full extent of that? And once again, we will not know whether or not success or not until we've seen them play. I won't know, in my personal opinion, whether or not this is a success or failure for a few years.
Yeah. Well, a few years. I think you can figure it out quicker than that. But anyway,
once again, I'm so much more patient about it.
Yeah,
but
that's true. No, that is true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for those that don't know, like, KDot is, if you have a coach that you sign to a 5-year deal, you want to see that whole thing. Like, that is the level of patience that he brings to the table. So we're up against a hard stop here. We say Friday 2 p.m. as always, which is true. Depending on this game, maybe see you sooner than that. Hopefully under good circumstances. Maybe it's so good that we're like, you know what? We're excited. We want to talk about it. Otherwise, we'll see you Friday 2 p.m., which means we would have also experienced a Miami Dolphins joint practice. And so we will see you then. So until then, take it easy, guys.
Bye, everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.